It's RRS General 18 again. Just got back from spring break, so I'm going to get back into some videos. Today I'm going to be taking a look at this very heavily armored Tier 6 heavy tank, the T-150. Many people look at Russian Tier 6 heavy tanks and they think KV-2, KV-1S. This tank is mostly overlooked because who doesn't want a 152mm derp gun? And who doesn't want the 122, which is pretty legendary at Tier 6. But this tank is actually quite good for solo players, considering its armor is much better than both the T1, the KV-1S and the KV-2. The armor is quite good, even you can do pretty well, and even in a Tier 8 game, you can bounce some shots, as I'll show you in a later replay. But overall, I've had quite fun playing this tank. It fits my playstyle pretty much. I enjoy heavy tanks, especially when they can take a pretty big beating, and they can deal out a beating themselves. Overall, the stats are pretty standard. Hit points 880. That's fairly high for this tier. I know the M6 goes in at 870. KV-1 is at 810. ARL 44. I'm pretty sure is 840 or 50, not entirely sure. So it's fairly high. As we'll talk about later with the armor, I think armor is a pretty good indicator of how many hit points the tank has. Weight, 54.4 tons to my loadout. As you can see, I do have torsion bars on there. I was lazy. I didn't want to have to experience the research the tracks before putting on the Top Gun. 100 horsepower, 700. It's not the slowest tank, but it's not quick either. Top speed of 35 kilometers per hour. You will get about the high 20s, early 30s, but you're not going to get there very quickly. Horsepower to rate ratio is not the best. Now here's where we get into the interesting part, the armor. 90 at the front, 90 at the sides, 75 at the rear for the hull, which is very good. The turret armor of 100 at the front, 100 at the sides, and 75 at the rear. Very good armor. Very good armor, which is the main selling point of this tank is the armor. The gun is okay. You can make it work, but it's all about the armor with this tank. Being able to get up close, make your enemy bounce, and then derp them in the face. So I'm going to pull up the gun here, which is really quite interesting. This 107 millimeter ZIS 6. As you can see, it's 107, about 6 rounds per minute, which isn't terrible. Yeah, I believe it's a little faster than the KV-1S, which I believe gets about 4 to 5 rounds a minute. Penetration, 167 with regular AP rounds, 219 with APCR, 300 alpha, which is respectable. But when it's up against tanks in its tier like the KV-1S with the 122, which has 175 pen with regular rounds and 390 alpha damage, it kind of gets overlooked a little bit. Accuracy is not great, and aim time is abysmal. If you do not take all 3.4 seconds, you will miss. I have lost games because I failed to hit targets that were at extreme close range because I was not fully aimed, and that accuracy really hurt me there. This gun does go all the way up. It is on the KV-2 and the A44. It's also on the KV-3 and the KV-4, but honestly, this gun belongs on a Tier 6. Well, it doesn't belong on a Tier 6, but it's best suited on a Tier 6. And I don't know if anybody's noticed or not, but this is the same kind of gun on this monster, KV-5. The guns are pretty much exactly the same. For the matter, the penetration is the same, and the only thing different about it is the accuracy is slightly better, the aim time is better, and the rate of fire is better. But overall, they're the exact same gun. So if you're used to playing this KV-5, then you will have little problems dealing with the gun on the T150, except for the slightly more inaccurate, slightly slower, and slightly longer aiming time. But if you're used to playing this gun at tier 8 and 9, you'll do just fine playing it at tier 6. So back to T150. View range of 330, not great. Hellcats will spot you way before you spot them. You're not going to really do a lot of spotting in this tank unless you're up really close and personal. Signal range is pretty bad. 440, which for tier 6 is getting to be pretty bad. Typically at this tier I would like to have a 500 if not 600 meter view range, or signal range. But typically around this is where you start getting your tier 9 and 10 radios, where you can have that 710, which I believe is the maximum signal range. So if you're not careful, you will run out of contact with your allies, especially if you're at one corner and they're at the other. So as you can see, I do have torsion bars on here. Yes, I was lazy. As I typically am, I don't like going for tracks first. It's something I just prefer. I want to be able to get the big guns on there as fast as possible so I can do more damage and get more credits and XP. I also have a toolbox on here. Toolboxes are great, especially in a tank like this where side scraping is very, very much a possibility, and you'll be losing your tracks a lot. And plus, since they do not require gold to remove, they're a great investment to be able to move around from tank to tank. I have 5 of these on a wide variety of tanks. A lot of my side scraping tanks, such as my Black Prince and the T150. Matilda, I don't even know why I have it on the Matilda, but I do keep these on a lot of tanks. As for skills, as you can see, I do not have this 100% crew yet. This is the first. I had to rebuy a heavy tank crew because my other one's in my IS-3. I do have one on my KV-2, but that's in my KV-2 and it's still needed. This tank will be 100% crew on the KV-3 as I move down the line. I just unlocked the KV-3 not an hour ago, and I'll be buying that after I do this review. I'm going to pull up Tank Inspector and we're going to take a look at the armor of this more closely, but I must say, of its tier, most heavily armored tank. You can really bounce a lot of shells with this tank. And I'll be right back. Alrighty guys, so here we are in Tank Inspector looking at the T150. As I've said earlier, this is a very well armored tank for its tier, especially from the sides. From the front, I believe it's outmatched by the M6 with 102mm of frontal armor, but even still, it's a very well armored tank. You can angle this one at a much deeper angle, whereas the M6, if you expose your side pretty much at all, you're going to be penned by everybody. So overall, armor-wise, the T150 is probably the best armored. Not the hardest hitting, not the most accurate firing tank, but it can withstand a blow or two. And so we're going to take a look at the collision model here. As you can see, most of it's red. Not a lot of deviance here. The lower plate is not great. It's 100mm-ish. Unangled, of course, but I mean, typically, if you're going to get penned by somebody, you're going to get penned this machine gun port, the driver's hatch, and the cupola. Other than that, I wouldn't worry about it too much, but tier 7 and 8 guns, especially guns like the 105 on the T29 and the 122 on the IS, and guns like that, can go through the side cheeks if you turn the turret where you unangle them. But it's going to be pretty hard to pen that, especially with guns that inaccurate. At least with the IS gun, the T29 might not have too much problem, but overall, it's a very well armored tank. You can bounce shots. I've bounced IS-3s, KB-4s, I'm not sure if I've bounced any ISUs or not, but it is a very well armored tank. And if I was in a tier 7 or 8 game, I would probably rather have one of these, just because the armor I can side scrape a little bit better. Whereas in the 1S, you couldn't do that. You just got to play the pop out game, and I'm not a big fan of that pop out. So this tank does fit my playstyle a little bit. It is a little slow, but I can make do. From the rear, you want to be shooting this top portion here. This is the weakest part, 34 millimeters. There's also a small strip down here, but honestly, anywhere on the back, you're probably going to penetrate. If you do get the option, aim for this turret hatch here. You will kill a crewman or two. I'm not entirely sure, maybe the gunner or the loader. But if you get a chance, shoot there. It's a very, very weak. I mean, well, 75 millimeters is what it says, but I'm pretty sure it's weaker than that on that hatch there. So instead of just telling you how well the armor is, I'm going to show you in some games and also show you what this tank can do. And I'll pull those up now and we'll get right into them. Alrighty, so here we are on Severgosk. As it turns out, this is the only replay I have. I thought I had two, but I've already sold the T150 and I didn't save any of the replays, so we're going to have to make do with this one. But it's a tier 8 game. Quite a few tier 8s, 5 on each team. Some of them are pretty nasty. All of them are pretty nasty, actually. This game was not a very good win chance for our team, but we managed to pull it off in the end. So I'm taking the T150 over toward the left flank because not many tanks were heading that way, and I was just feeling brave. I do take some shots at these tanks, but this Russian accuracy is not very good. I failed to hit all the targets I was trying to hit, unfortunately. So I decided to, take one on the move and keep driving. So I'm pulling up here toward this lighthouse thing, and I take a hit from the RHM. Yes, I was not real happy about that. And artillery had a very, very fun time shooting me this game. Those 2-3-04s drove me nuts all game. They would not leave me alone for a minute. I'm going to speed up a little bit here. Not much happens here. As you can see, I just lost my platoon mate, Kevron, and his Dicker Max. So now it's just me, unfortunately. As you can see, they do pull up a lot of tier 8s, and I'm trying to take a shot at this KV-4, but this 167 millimeter penetration did not go through his turret side there. So I do load APCR, and I wait for him to come around. He is not using. I don't think he's using the 107. I believe he's using the 122. So here we are. We're kind of playing chicken with each other a little bit, and I start asking for help because I know I can't take this guy alone. I do fire one. I hit his gun mantlet. But luckily enough for me, he fails to penetrate as well. I put one through his lower glacis, and I angle, and I bounce. If he'd probably been using the 107, he probably would have had me, but luckily enough for me, he did not, and I was able to bounce 2 shells, and allow my team to finish him off for me. Alright, so I see that low up there. I want to get a shot at him, but I just can't get the gun depression on this side of this hill here. So I try and reposition a little bit. A little bit more. Leave that Black Prince. Want a shot at him, but once again, no gun depression. As with most Russian tanks, gun depression is not the best. I do have problems penetrating that Black Prince from the front. Black Prince is a fairly heavily armored tank.
You bastard.
And there's artillery once more. So overall, I haven't really done much in this game, but we're still alive, mostly. I see that IS-3. I want to help out our buddy here, so I put a nice shot there. It's above average damage roll. Nice 327. And we're lucky enough to get another one into him. So we put 2 into that IS-3. Now we're going to start looking at this low. He's sitting up there in a very, very awkward position. And honestly, I will take a shot at you if you're going to sit like that with your side to me in a tier 8 tank. I don't mind. We managed to get a second one into the low, but now we're on really low health as the artillery has been pounding me almost relentlessly. So I really hate the 304. It is one of the most annoying artillery in the game. As you can see, I'm fairly well concealed behind this wall, but he's somehow managing to hit me anyways. But you know, we're still alive, even though we're 141. And this WZ is, I don't know what he was doing, but honestly, and he just knocked my gun out. So use my repair kit. If you have a damaged gun in this thing, you're gonna have a really bad day. That's probably one of the worst things that can happen to you is get your gun knocked out, repair it, and get it knocked out again. Because even without a damaged gun, it's bad accuracy. I'm defeated up here. I'm trying to decide to go back to base. I see that artillery, and I decided to take a shot at him. Wasn't that great of a shot, but it hit, killed him. I'm happy. He's down. I'm not. As you can see at the top, we're up to about 1,800 damage, which is fairly good in a tier 6 tank in a tier 8 game. Alright, so we're coming on the cap here. You got WZ gives us his rear, and I will gladly put a shot in through that any day. The C-28 prototype is going to get the kill as we missed at about 60 meters and hit the tracks. Russian guns and I do not get along. So now all we have left is that low up there on that ridge. And overall, we've had a fairly good game. Nice 2,079 damage for a tier 6 and a tier 8 game is not terrible. And I believe at this point we do have this game won. I'm going to speed it up here because, as I said, the T-150 is a little slower, and it does take a while to get in maneuver into play position. I do slow down with that T-34 get in front of me because he's full health and I'm not. And knowing World of Tanks, like I have found out that if a tier 8 or a high tier, top tier, sees a lower tier on low health, they'll take the kill, even though they could be shooting at something more valuable. But I guess in a situation like this where you're about to lose, might as well just take the kill. So honestly, we had a pretty good game. You know, I don't think we're gonna get much more out of this one, so I'm just gonna speed it up here. Yeah, this thing can do pretty well in a tier 8 game. Its armor does give it the ability to get in situations where where a 1S would fail, and we're just gonna cap it out. We're not gonna be able to make it back for that Borsig, so we do end up capping it out, and we're gonna take a look at some post-game stats. Alright, so here we are looking at the post-game stats of the battle on Severgosk. As you can see, we did manage to earn almost 104,000 credits, almost 2,200 XP, 2,300 XP. I believe this was my times 2 of the day, which was very nice, very fortunate for me. It was a first class mastery badge. I did get a mastery, an ace tanker in this, but the gameplay that was the second replay I was going to show you, I seem to have misplaced. And I can't seem to find it in the massive amount of games I've played over the past week and a half. We did get Defender for hitting that WZ-131. We did hit quite a few tanks, a lot of higher tiers. In fact, the only thing that we hit that was higher than our lower that was our tier was the M44. Looking at the team score, team stats, we were 3rd in damage, which was very outstanding, considering it was a tier 8 game. We did most than the tier 8s on, well, not all the tier 8s, excuse me. We did better than most of the tier 8s on the enemy team, save for the Rheinmetall Borsig. Yeah, it was a very good game for me, actually. I believe there was a mission going on, so I would not say that is the credits that would be standard with a game like this. I believe that was an extra 50,000 or so. As you can see, we did fire 14 shots, 11 direct hits, 8 penetrations for 2,079 damage. We received 7 hits, 5 of which penetrated, 2 were splash, and 2 were non-pens. Both the non-pens from the KV4. Potential damage we received was at 2,800. Try doing that in KV1S in a tier 8 game. See how far you get. But overall, that's what makes this tank outstanding is the armor. That's what sets it apart from the 1S. It's not the alpha damage, it's not the accuracy, not even the rate of fire. It's the armor. You are quite a bit slower, but you can do pretty well. So, that concludes this review. I do recommend the T150. I'm working toward the IS-4 down this line. I did buy the KV-3. That tank is going to take some getting used to. It's not the T150. But overall, for Tier 6, if you're in a Tier 6 game, you can go out and wreck tanks just because they are going to have a hard time penetrating your armor. Especially if you angle really well, or side scrape around corners, you can put that 107 to good use. Alright, so this concludes this T150, and I will catch y'all later with another gameplay review, probably later today. I've got some tanks I need to sell and get out of my garage. So, take care and see you in a few.